you know how it goes at uni where they'll get like certain artists to come and play as well. So like I went to a few of those nights, Kano being one of them notably, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like Kano doing like, sometimes people come on, they do like 10-15 minute sets and then leave. He did like 40 minutes and rapped every single lyric, and I was like, this is incredible, and I paid like £7 for this, like one. And as I shared before, like my passion's always been black music, and so whenever I had the opportunity to work with artists that I had like an awareness and affinity towards, that was always like, damn, like this is such a privilege to be able to get to work with these guys and add a value.
At this point in your life, being turning 30, and not just literally just turning 30, but do you feel pushed or pulled at this point in your life?
God is so creative, isn't it? Like the first instance that you sort of read of him in the Bible is in Genesis, where it talks about him creating the world, and nowadays everyone is a creator. It's like, now God was the first creator, and so therefore if he's put creativity on your heart and as a passion of yours, then it's not there by mistake. So who am I to, like, I'm almost doing myself a disservice if I'm not stepping into using the skills that I feel like I've been given.
Hello everyone, and welcome again to the Sonderverse channel. Today I have a new guest. This is season 1, episode 4. I have a guest called Harrison Cosstick, who has been referred on by Quincy Thomas. Harrison, how are you doing today? You good?
Very good, man. Pleasure to meet you.
I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to come and talk to me. I'm looking forward to digging into the topics that we've got today, learning more a bit about you and what you do in your industry, etc. I think there's some clues in the background there. But yeah, listening to your story and just learning a little bit more about you, man. So that's what I'm excited for. So if you want to just give us a quick introduction about yourself, and then we can start from there.
Cool, man. Sounds good. As I say, great to meet you. Great to be here. I will, start with some context. So Quincy Thomas, as you say, Master Q is your last guest. He and I, scary, go kind of way back now. We first met age 11 in high school, like year 7, which feels like a distant memory now, strangely enough. And we've just been friends ever since, growing together over that time. And I guess like stopped being in contact day to day post like A level, so like from age 18. But like still like super tight, and I guess we have like very similar passions, and so hence why we sort of stayed aligned in what we do, whether it be like football, just culturally, but I guess probably mostly is music, really, the way in which we kind of come together in a way, which for him, as you would have heard and all the listeners would have heard, is like DJing, like on mass, as he does incredibly well. And then for me, it's actually my day job, my day to day since I was 22. So I guess we can touch on that. Although I guess probably start with some more context as to how we got here, really. So I am an economics graduate, and I say that to give you the context for where I am now. It's kind of neither here nor there about the degree, but whilst I was studying, at a certain point, like, so I lived at home for the first 2 years of uni, and then moved out third year, which is, I feel like a lot of people do it the opposite way around, but that was kind of how my experience played out anyhow.
Sorry, where did you go to uni?
I studied at Royal Holloway, which is like in Egham. It looks a bit like Hogwarts. If you Google it, you'll be impressed. It's like turrets and towers, and it's like old school.
That sounds sick.
It's cool, man. It's a cool campus. So I studied there, wanted to sort of stay like in proximity to London, so that it made like the commute feasible, essentially. And I was a hermit, to be honest with you. Like the first 2 years, I was just sort of like going there, getting my contact hours done that I needed to do, and then leaving. Didn't really make many friends, to be honest, which was completely on me. Like I just didn't put myself in those spaces, which I don't quite know why. I feel like I saw it as a bit of a chore, to be honest. Like, I've got to go to uni, like I didn't choose to do that. Anyhow, so I didn't really go out that much in terms of like student nightlife and stuff. And then but I did a couple of times with like my course mates who had, you know, a core group of friends there. And, you know, on both occasions, I was sort of like underwhelmed by the music. I feel like for me, one of the reasons I did go out is for good music, to hear it on big speakers. And I love, you know, the art of DJing and stuff. And so, you know, I just like that stuff. And you know how it goes at uni where they'll get like certain artists to come and play as well. So like I went to a few of those nights, Kano being one of them notably. And I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like Kano doing like, sometimes people come on, they do like 10-15 minute sets and then leave. He did like 40 minutes and rapped every single lyric. And I was like, this is incredible. And I paid like £7 for this. Like what on earth? And so, yeah, but they didn't have many nights of the music that I was sort of into, which is like more your black music. So hip hop, R&B, Afro, whatever. And so one of my friends, he knew how to DJ because he was like, his family have an event company. And so he was like, oh, well, like, why don't you learn to DJ? I was like, what do you mean me? Like, you're the one that has sort of experience. And I was like, all right, cool. What about if I buy some equipment and we could do it together? And he was like, okay, deal. And so we did that. And then we like got the email of the guy who ran the events at the whole uni. And I hit him up and I was like, hey, me and my friend would be keen to DJ. Let us know what the process is to like apply. Not really knowing how it worked. And he was like, oh, sweet. Yeah, come and audition next week. And I was like, next week? I was like, I've literally just got my equipment. It's like box fresh and I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I was like, bro, you're going to have to help me learn what the heck I'm doing. Because I feel like I've got like a decent music taste, but like I didn't have any skills. And so, yeah, we were just, at this point I'd moved out. This was third year now. And we were in like my bedroom. And we had my ironing board set up and we were literally just DJing on this ironing board. And he was teaching me how to beat match and like key match and what is like a clash and how to avoid it and how to do it seamlessly. Because all of a sudden I was like, damn, I've got to like audition. And so sort of week went by and then we did it. And like it's quite daunting, to be fair, like carrying your small little equipment in and popping it on this huge stage that's used to doing like close to 1,000 people in the room. Potentially. And he sort of stood in the middle of the dance floor just observing you. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is quite scary. But then we did like 10-15 minutes each and he was like, yeah, sweet, you guys are great. When do you want to play? And I was like, oh. And so it kind of randomly went from there. And anyhow, that is just, I guess, the context for that. And so we ended up doing that. And that was where I first sort of learned to DJ. And because obviously being very, very basic was good enough, that I kind of learned on the fly in real time quite how to do it properly. And I think one of the main skills that I learned there was just like song selection and reading the crowd and just that, because really like we got paid, but it was like an absolute pittance. It was literally nothing. But at the same time, I was like, hey, well, there's two options here. I do this and don't get paid much, or I pay entry. And like queue in the cold with everybody else. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna.
You get to curate the experience as well, anyway. So it ends up being the way that you enjoy it as well, isn't it?
Literally, like that was the highlight for me, to be honest. It was brilliant, and so we loved that. Anyway, that was more to just, I guess, like anchor some of my personal context in music. And so then, like fast forward now, we graduate in my sort of economics degree, and then I'm sort of sitting there at the end of it thinking, well, this is a reasonably academic degree and lends itself to sort of like finance or that sort of white collar work, I guess. And so I was like, well, I may as well take a stab at it now. So I kind of dipped a toe in it. I didn't get massively far. Anyhow, I ended up taking on like this temporary job at like a tax firm, and they were like independent. Is that the right word? But they were a sort of a smaller firm, like a startup type thing. It wasn't like a sort of a big four in Canary Wharf type thing. It was a smaller family firm, but it didn't mean they didn't have big clients and that sort of thing. And so they took me on, but it was literally in an admin capacity. So I was literally kind of like, I was a stand-in office manager for someone who had been like signed off on long-term sick leave. And it kind of ended up, it was like, I was kind of going a week at a time, and then ended up rolling for 7 months, strangely enough. And And then in that time, it kind of advanced from me doing the admin to them thinking, oh, like you have a bit of aptitude about you. Maybe we could do like a training situation here where we pay for your 3 years and then you become actually someone who can be a technical tax advisor.
Yeah.
And through that process, it's so easy to be like, oh, like the job security and the sort of 5-year plan and all of that. And you're looking at it thinking like, this makes a lot of financial sense. And then funnily enough, all in that period, like I was still DJing, and there was a thing that come up where one of my friends who's an artist, like he had a tour, he had several tours actually. And he asked me to come on board to do some like videography and photography bits.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this was almost before like content was a proper thing.
Yeah.
But it was more like highlights reel type stuff every now and then. And then on one of those tours, I DJ'd as well. And the company, the tax firm, was super gracious, man, and they like allowed me the time off to do it. As much as I was like on a temp contract, they were like, we understand this is a passion of yours and you can kind of do it.
That's cool.
Yeah, which was super kind. And then when it sort of came to the end and they were like, you've got here's your like formal offer of like training work, I had a decision to make as to whether I wanted to pursue that or not, basically, because it would have been 3 years training and 1 in industry. So I was basically about to sign away the next 4 years of my life.
Yeah.
Which felt a bit scary and also not exciting. Like there was not really a bone in my body that was sort of like excited by that prospect.
Mm-hmm.
It was more a case of like, it's a career path, and it's a known sort of paycheck essentially. And so I kind of slept on it and was very undecided for a while, and then ended up landing on, well, I've done this random like music touring thing, which was by no stretch like setting the world alight, and I wasn't getting paid mega bucks or anything like that, but like I proper loved it. And then I'd done my DJing stuff as well at uni and a few sort of other bits in the periphery, and I was like, this is great, and I just love music. And so I came to this decision, or I came to, I guess, a crossroads where it's like either do the safe thing or don't. And I kind of said to myself, you know what, if
take the risk,
yeah, man, if there's an opportunity for me to like earn from doing something that I love and make a career out of it, then I would rather take the punt now than get a couple of years down the line and realize I don't like this sort of white collar work and then have to start all over again. So I just ended up saying thanks so much for the offer, but I can't accept it because my passions are just elsewhere. And they were disappointed but understanding. And then I just spent the next 3 months like applying for jobs in music, not knowing what on earth they look like, which is quite funny actually, because I'm normally quite prepared for like life. And then I was just like, oh, I don't really know where to start. And I was like, jobs in music. Yeah. And then
and how old were you at this point roughly?
23.
So you've got time to trial and error something, haven't you? Really, you've got some breathing space to do that, I guess.
Yeah, defo. And I was also living with my parents at the time post uni, as sort of one does with no money coming in. Well, I also had my little temp job, but that was really like to buy my way back into London, which is where I was living, and do that sort of thing, and to save a bit as well. So I spent the next 3 months just literally sitting on my couch and looking for jobs and trying to understand ways in which I could earn money from like an industry job. And pretty much heard back nothing, which was, 3 months doesn't sound like the longest of times, but at the time it felt super long because it was just frustrating, and it felt like one-way traffic in terms of I was doing lots of work and no one was even saying no. Like you'd rather just get a rejection, I think. Hey, thanks for applying, but no. And you just kind of send stuff into the wind. And then all of a sudden I got like this email out of the blue, and it asked if I wanted to come and interview for ironically the only record label I'd ever heard of at the time, and that was Island Records. Which was, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know, like this is the only thing that I knew and the only logo that I recognized in the whole of the industry. So fast forward, ended up getting this internship job, and have kind of been doing the same thing ever since, to be fair. So my day-to-day is in music, but it's in the business side of it. So I've worked for 3 different record labels, doing streaming, which sounds a bit sort of like obscure and can look many different ways, obviously with Twitch nowadays and that sort of thing. But I guess it's evolved as I've come along, but like my role is essentially kind of account management really. So every label will have a roster of artists that they've signed, and then it's like how does one listen to music nowadays? It's on streaming services. So your Spotify, your Apple's, Amazon's, YouTube, anywhere where you can click play and the whole song plays, like that's like a DSP. And I and my teams like represent the roster of artists and are kind of the mouthpiece and the conduit between artists and their management team, and then the final stage where the music ends up, so your Spotify's, Apple's, etc. And so it's multifaceted, I guess. So some of it's just telling the artist story, and as I say, being their mouthpiece and really communicating their story, their journey, what they're about, and why people should care. Getting, I guess, that sort of emotional investment and the anecdotal side of things clear. And then it's also, all right, how do we maximize the promotional opportunities here as well? Like obviously all of these platforms have playlists, they have marketing opportunities, they have social media handles, and they have budgets. And with budgets, they can do bespoke activity. And so it's about maximizing every artist's opportunity within the scope of what's offered across all of these accounts. And some of it's awareness marketing, some of it's essentially getting as many streams as possible, and that is in turn like revenue generating for the label and for the artist and all of that sort of thing. And then I guess the flip side of that, that's sort of, I guess, behind the curtain, is like all of the data, and what informs decisions and what informs strategy and all of that sort of stuff. So then we sort of analyze a bunch of data. There's so many data points that I had no idea even existed before the job, and you sort of look at that, communicate it internally to teams, and it helps with how people allocate their marketing spend, their advertising spend, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty varied in the day to day. And yeah, it was really, as I say, the sort of my love for music that got me into DJing, that got me into opening my eyes to what if I could do something like this full time. And now fast forward all these years later, and yeah, a couple jobs later, and I'm still going and wondering kind of what's next, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's sick, man. It is very, it's an interesting and lucky but curated turn of events, I guess, in terms of how you've ended up where you're at. And it's cool that you're an example of not just doing the safe path and it working out, and not always fully knowing where it's going to go, but like I have some intention, a bit like following what Quincy was saying last episode, having an intention of going in a direction, and then we'll just see what aligns and comes along and falls in place. So what you're doing now, obviously you're saying it's something that you landed in and you've followed through with. So I'm guessing, I'm taking that you enjoy it and you find it fulfilling, and is it what aspects of it draw you to this streaming role, account kind of management role? Is it because of the different artists and stories that you get to tell? Is it because it's is it challenging? Like what part of it really kind of gets you stimulated and you know, keeps you dedicated to that career path?
Good question. I feel like when I first got that sort of like internship offer, I think that my degree and the fact that people think it's quite numbers based lends itself to the sort of data side of things, and then my just evident passion for music like helped, and it was kind of like a nice marriage of what felt like a skill set and a passion. Truth be told, my economics degree had very few numbers in. It was largely Greek alphabet and theories, which is quite ironic. But yeah, so I honestly didn't understand what the job entailed, and then sort of started in the probably first 3 weeks, and I had people asking me questions, and I literally didn't really know what I was supposed to even be telling them. It's one of those ones where you definitely figure out on the job type thing, but also it was a new part of the industry back then, to be fair. Spotify had been going, Apple obviously had been going, but I think Amazon Music and YouTube Music had just recently launched. And so people were learning that sort of the newness together, which allowed me to sort of, I guess, forge my own sort of path and knowledge at the same time, which definitely helped me land on my feet a bit. And because there weren't many people who were sort of like further ahead in knowledge than me, and that's not to blow my own trumpet at all. It's just it was a happy coincidence, to be honest with you. And so yeah, I think part of it probably has been interesting to be part of, I guess, that new era of the style of consuming music, because it allowed you to be a bit innovative in a sense and to learn with everybody, which is always quite fun and quite challenging. And then I think since then it's probably been an evolution of like working with different artists. And as I shared before, like my passion's always been Black music, and so whenever I had the opportunity to work with artists that I had like an awareness and affinity towards, that was always like, damn, like this is such a privilege to be able to get to work with these guys and add a value and an intrinsic like an already intrinsic desire for them to win as part of my day job. And so I was always like super passionate and intentional about that. And then it was just sort of, oh, cool, like what's next really? And then over time, my role sort of evolved and had more and more responsibility, whereas initially it was like definitely more, you know, as it would be on the assistant side of things, and then doing stuff sort of behind the scenes, and then grew into more actually having more responsibility, and then having proper face time with artists and management teams and people looking to you to actually advise on strategy, but and equally troubleshooting all of the stuff that, you know, isn't all sort of isn't sort of perfect and glossy. So yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it, and I think there's a lot to enjoy, because it's people, and I think every business to a large extent, when it boils down to it, is people, but music more than any. I think when you're in creative side of or the entertainment industry, like it's so people led, and that has like emotions, expectations on the line, but also, you know, is it possibly a bit different to finance, where it's more objective, or an area where it's like this is the product, or it's stocks and shares and it's volatile. It's like this is someone's art, and emotion is so much more heightened when it's art and when it's subjective and when it's personal and someone's been vulnerable. And so we really do have a responsibility to, like, I guess, uphold that in a way that is representative in the best way of the artist, and also, like, I guess, cherished in a way that respects what they've been through to get to that point. And so yeah, that's always been something that I've tried to look after and be the best representation of them. And hopefully people are like, oh, like if Harrison's representing me, they can feel a sense of pride and a sense of like, oh, like, probably more safety than pride. Like, oh, he knows like what I'm about, and he can communicate in a certain way, and he's got relationships that will allow this to be optimal, essentially. So yeah, that's definitely fun, and that's an honor. But I do think where I'm at now, being completely honest, it's been very cool to be sort of behind the scenes and be the best sort of like ambassador for others. But I do think in the doing of that, it's just busy, and work is busy, and it can be sort of all encompassing at times. And I've done my best to like compartmentalize it over the years. But now I think it's possibly been to the detriment of me giving myself the space to like be freely creative myself. So I'm really at that point now where I'm trying to sort of like tip the scales a bit more towards ways in which I can be more creative, and bring my own art, like quote unquote art, without getting too theoretical about it, to life, rather than just be like a servant of others. And as much as I'll continue to do that, like, want it to be sort of like a bit more weighted towards my passions and that, rather than just purely serving someone else's art, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a kind of, what would you go in a direction where you are doing your own thing, or still within an industry or a corporation, but in more of a role where you've got more, I don't know, empowerment to make decisions, or make what would I say, inroads in a certain direction or something like that? Like, is it spinning off and doing something of your own, that kind of hunger? Or again, is there another kind of position or area of the industry that you're saying that you want that more creative freedom and I don't want to say control, because control sounds maybe sometimes a bit too strong of
No,
a
I hear
word,
you.
but
I
like,
hear you.
yeah,
That's it makes sense. I know what you mean. Sometimes words can feel like
yeah,
very, very absolute.
yeah,
Um, I think both. I think both. I think definitely want to be more like have the option and the ability and give myself the time and space to actually produce like my own output, and that will probably look varied. But it might be DJing, it might be like a whole bunch of stuff, but it's going to be something that is like the onus is on me in it, and I will
yeah,
do it, and I can hold myself accountable. Um, and then the bit about changing role and maybe navigating that a bit more. Yeah, I think so. I think I like the idea of being like a strategic consultant type thing, and that's
mm-hmm.
not to like in terms of that's just an arbitrary thing that I've said, but like the sort of advisory stuff and being like, oh, you could do this. And here, okay, cool. This is what your product is, all right? Well, let's plan it out, and this is how it could look. And I think sometimes in the day-to-day task list is what I have to do as part of my role. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of being able to have those sort of free conversations and take time to sort of ponder and like spitball.
Mm-hmm.
So often, especially when you're representing so many artists, sometimes you just got to get through stuff, and obviously you give as much time as possible to each and every one, and where there are activations that you're seeing through, all of that gets done. But sometimes the luxury of taking that sort of step back and having like more of a macro what if approach to things, sometimes you don't get the luxury of that. And so I think sometimes it would be sick to be able to have like a less is more approach and have like fewer things you're working on, but be able to really, really hone in on it, like with a fine tooth comb, and be like, cool, this is what we're going to stick with, and we're going to be super meticulous about how it's outworked, rather than just sort of just sort of not ticking the box, because that sounds a bit too blasé. But you kind of have more of a curated control over stuff. So yeah, and both ideally, and then we'll sort of see what I enjoy more, because I just want to never stop learning as well. Like there's so many scenarios where I feel like I've been kind of like pretty level for a while, and it's like, let's put myself in some different environments and see what I get kicked out of, but also what I can add value to, and how that brings different opportunities, different people across my path, and all that sort of thing, man.
It's all interesting to know, and one of the things that I kind of want to touch on, and we touched on with Quincy, is that you've recently turned 30, so happy birthday. I don't know when that was. When was that, Harrison?
Recently, about what are we doing? It was like last week, last Tuesday, I think.
Last Tuesday turned 30.
About a week ago, yeah.
And where were you again? You were which country was it? Italy? Were you in Italy, or was that just where Quincy was? Because there was a bit at the beginning of the video where you were together. Is that correct?
Yeah. We spent a day at Soho Farmhouse on the Monday.
Oh, was that still in London, and then he went off to
Italy?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, literally like the next day. Then he was out. Bless him. He was wrecked as well. He was ill. We had a little chill day together with our respective partners and stuff, and then he was out DJing, kind of like a multi-day wedding extravaganza. Crazy,
Mr. Worldwide over there. So turning 30, we were having this conversation. I'm 30 years old as well.
Cool.
I'm in this kind of May was me when I turned 30, and some people have like an early life crisis. Some people have this kind of new sense of there's more I want to do or more I want to achieve. It sounds similar to what you were saying there, kind of thing. The whole reason I started this, not saying it's because I turned 30, this channel, but you get this, you do your free trial period from the 20s, and then you get to 30 and you get like, okay, now I've got to do the subscription service, and I've got to decide what I want to put my money on, that kind of thing. So what you were kind of saying there in terms of maybe taking a tangent, or you said consultant, what was it? A strategic consultant? What?
Yeah. I think that was spot on.
Is that something you do as like solo, or is that something you do again as part of a group or a conglomerate of other consultants? Is that something you do? Is something you do self-employed in a way, or?
Yeah, it's
It
something that I
is.
would do self-employed. I think, people, I do feel like it's becoming more and more of a thing. Like
Yeah.
people sort of going it alone. Um, and I think a lot of it's just down to flexibility, to be fair, and
Yeah.
personal preference of, hey, like I'd rather be at home, we work at a coffee shop because, they want to, I guess, and this is for me too, like want to have free flexibility of diary,
Yeah.
to be able to, like, for me, like I would love to be able to go to the gym every morning, before work.
Yeah.
Sadly, often I go to bed too late, so I can't get up in the morning to do that.
To do that. Yeah.
Or so I would love to be able to be like, I don't have calls that I'm sort of beholden to or meetings, but I can
Yeah.
just be like, oh, I'm going to take 2 hours and go and meet a friend for lunch and then go to the gym type thing.
Mhm.
Whereas you don't have the luxury of that when you're at sort of like a day job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the role would probably be largely similar, but you could carve it yourself, and then you kind of get to pick and choose the things you do and put your mind to, and then if you want to work on the weekend and you prefer that, but you've got friends who don't work in the week, so you can meet up with them, then it's kind of a win-win. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I've got kind of a deep question, but I think you're quite of a deep. Maybe it's not a deep question because it's very, very binary, but it might take you a second to think of it. At this point in your life, being turning 30, and not just literally just turning 30, but do you feel pushed or pulled at this point in your life? At which direct do you feel pushed or do you feel pulled?
It's a good question.
And it can be based on your own definitions of what you think they are. I'm not going to say like either
Yeah.
way, but I'm just interested to know, because this is something that I've been pondering on myself turning 30 and I get this point, like, what am I doing? Am I being pushed in a direction? Am I being pulled in a direction? I think it's semantics of words and vocabulary still, but I'm just interested to know what you feel at this turning point in life.
Yeah, that's super thought-provoking, actually. I would say pushed by myself, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. I feel like so often we can be pushed by other things, and
Yeah.
it's like a force that you don't have control over, in a sense. And that's not to make it sound like spooky, but it's more like,
Yeah.
you're being pushed at work to excel. You're being pushed to keep your head above the water because it's like there's so much going on. You're being pushed by parents or pushed by a partner or by a friend. But I think for me, it's more like, I think, as you say, like I don't necessarily think it's the changing of the decade thing, but I do think it's a age thing in terms of, all right, cool. I know a lot of people my age as well in the similar boat, like been doing this, graduate to 21,
Yeah.
was sort of like figuring it out until 22, and then I've been working for like 7 years. And I think 7 years is actually quite interesting in terms of like, it's quite a cyclical number. I think a lot
Yeah.
of things change. I might be incorrect, but I've heard that your hair texture can sometimes change in like 7 year periods and stuff. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think getting to this point, like I'm like, okay, cool. I feel like I've been doing this for a while,
Yeah.
and yeah, you can sort of see like the potential trajectory of like job progression and what that comes with, i.e., titles and pay rises. But I think I'm just, as to answer the question, like clearly like pushing myself to be like, there's more, man. There's so much more, and I don't want to ever regret not taking those risks,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's funny you alluded to my first response and said it felt like I didn't play it safe, but now 7 years later, it feels like in the more recent period of that, I have played it safe because I've
Yeah.
remained.
Yeah.
It felt exciting, and it felt like I was like, I felt like I was personally progressing for the first probably 4 years of that, and then I felt like I probably like hit a bit of a plateau and personally stagnated.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think sometimes that's natural, and I think also sometimes it's like you go through life and you've got things that you're like, cool, I want to afford this or buy this, or for various circumstances want to be able to have like a steadiness of income,
Yeah.
and the knowledge of the fact that you can afford your lifestyle. Like so many people live on credit cards and stuff, and I've never wanted to
Yeah.
be that person. And so it's like always wanting to know that at the end of the month you're cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I feel like, to be fair, Quincy's been a massive inspiration in this as well. Like me and our other like best friend from school, we like we've been pushing him for the longest time, being like, bro, why are you not teaching full time? And he was like, yeah, man. I was like, nah, we've been deadly serious. Why are you not? And it had to come to a certain point where he's like, actually, I don't have a reason anymore. Like, it's too, the possibility is too big, and my sleep is currently too small because I'm working a full-time job and doing this, all that hours God sends, and the candle's burning at both ends. And so I just want to push myself and just achieve is the wrong word, but like, I want to put my mind and my energy into everything that I have a passion for, and try as much as I can to make a difference in the areas that I care about, and not waste anything that I feel like I'm gifted in or feel like I'm passionate about. Because I think, speaking to your question about what changes at 30, I feel like, yeah, man, I just really want to be more purposeful. Like, I feel like it's easy when sometimes you can be on autopilot, especially at work. You're like, oh, these are my roles and responsibilities, and I can kind of execute them with my eyes closed. And at a certain point, it's cool, but at a certain point, I'm like, I'm not finding as much purpose in this anymore as I used to. And I feel like at that point, when you're starting to feel a bit complacent, I need to push myself. I'm like, oh, no, I can do more. I can be more. And there's challenge to be had. There's adventure to be had. There's places in the world to see. And I can do that all whilst, finding an avenue to still support myself. Like, it's not all about earning money, but it's about hopefully creating a life that allows me to do all of the things that fulfill the dreams on my heart, but also in a purposeful way that help others. So man.
No, I appreciate that. So you're pushing yourself in a direction, and I think one of the things that to have a life that you enjoyed, that you find fulfilling, being able to, again, even though you've pursued your passions, but it's kind of just plateaued for now at this point. What's the next, rise? What's the next challenge? What's the next hill that you can climb to get that level of stimulation? One of the things that was interesting to hear from when Quincy was talking to me, and kind of going through this process of saying, like, this is the guy that I want to refer on. He was saying that a contrast. So am I right in saying that you're married? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that interplay into decision making? Does it have much of an interplay? Like, I imagine with your kind of role, you could go global, you could go anywhere or anywhere, you kind of thing. That turning 30, having, would you say you live a more traditional life, quiet life, introverted life? Is it, how do you kind of mix this decision process together right now? I feel like, again, getting to 30, there's like a lot of things you got to contend with. There's when you're in your early 20s, it's that which one do I want to take the risk on, and now it's like, maybe it's not one I want to settle on. Maybe that's when you get into your late 30s and your 40s, like, right, where am I going to calm down now and really just coast to the end, kind of thing. I feel like the 30s is going to be my probably the most exponential growth decade, I'm hoping. That's what I'm feeling like. It's definitely grown from being 20 to like 30 now, but I feel like that curvature's hopefully gonna really take some momentum.
Sick.
But with that kind of dynamic, how does all your decision process get done? Does it have any kind of, is it done with ease? Are you supported? Is there kind of, I'm just interested to know that. That's one thing that Quincy said in terms of in his, it was a contrast to his situation currently. You've took that big step, and you're how does that interplay?
Another good question, bro.
I'm single, so I can make as many decisions as I want. I can go to New Zealand. I can go to Africa. When I do it, well,
it's beautiful.
Need the money first. But how does that play? Does your other half have big dreams, big goals as well? And obviously, you want to kind of align all that kind of stuff. It's just interesting to know that a couple of my friends have started to get married now, and they're I wouldn't say settling, but kind of getting
Yeah.
into the motion.
Yeah.
You're now sounding like you're kind of ramping it still as well, though. Maybe not
Yeah.
crazily, like going mad tangents, but like still,
Mm.
there's more to strive for in a way.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think both my wife and I are like ambitious people, and not necessarily for the sake of like just ourselves and self-indulgence,
Yeah.
like, but like always trying to push each other to be the best that we can be. And I think over the time we've been together, like also challenging each other. And I think, you know, we have quite a unique, I don't know, everyone's so different in it, but I feel like we're quite unique whereby we both have the ability to like, you know, feel like it's a bygone era when there was like traditional gender roles and traditional, or there was one traditional breadwinner within the couple, and you kind of predetermine that from the jump, and then you're like, cool, one's going to be this and one's going to just be sort of like take the back seat a touch. Whereas for us, you know, we always just both encouraged each other massively to be like, just go and do the best that you can do in it. Like we both just love people and love being around people, and like to just add as much value as possible. And so I think when it comes to the decision making process, we you know, we argue very little. Like we're so often aligned, but I think it's because we talk about everything and talk about like our next steps together and what that looks like and how we want it to look as well. Like, you know, both, and we bring the other one into the decision making process, like as a like practical example as well. And I know this is super, I don't know if it's unique actually. I feel like it is, but like when we got married, as soon as we got married, like the first thing we did was to open a joint account. Yeah. And so like all of our money is shared, and we both have visibility on everyone, two of us. We both have, we know what the other one earns. We know what the money's coming in and out. If I start a new job, I'm like, yo, they offer this pension scheme, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Does that feel about right? And so we know what's coming in, we know what's going out, and we have that sort of trust, but also like conversation about everything. And so when it comes to next steps, like we would always like discuss stuff. And I feel like sometimes you hear situations where people are like surprised by their partner's life decisions. I'm like, why are you surprised? Like communication is so key in the relationship that sometimes it's like I would want to know someone well enough and deeply enough to know that like they tell me, oh, I was given this opportunity and I know instinctively what they would have gone with, or they don't have to tell me, like I just trust them. Like for example, when we got married and we moved into our first flat together, I was at work and my wife had some time off randomly. I don't know what was going on. Anyhow, she phoned me and she'd been viewing flats, and she was like, she was like puffing down the line because she was like running around at all these different locations. And she was like, I think it's this one. You will like it. Like, and I was like, cool. If that's what you think, then put an offer in, and whatever it takes to get it, let's get it. Yeah. And so we moved in. The day we moved in, I hadn't seen the flat. And then I rocked up. I was like, oh, sweet. Like, this is cool. This is great. And I think it's just having that trust and that communication. Yeah. I think it's like from it's like a bit of a principle really, from small things into big things. And so we are both, funny enough, at the stage where we're like, I feel like we could do something different. We've both been, as I say, like kind of coasting a bit in life in terms of challenging one another. And you can kind of be, as I say, on the autopilot, like come home, you know, have some food and chat together, and then be like, cool, should we like go and watch the Netflix series that we've been watching and just take it easy and chill out? But you said the word earlier, actually, settle. Like I've from when we got married, I've always hated that word. And I feel like some people that, oh, so you're going to get married and have kids and settle down. I'm like, nah, bro, like that's the last thing I want to do. Like I want to like ramp up in it. Like I want every year to get better, to get more exciting, to get more adventurous. And I've clocked recently that I've not been living like that. And I'm like, oh, bro, like that's disappointing. Like, when did you stop? When did you put the brakes on your adventure? And so we're both now in a place where we're like, oh, what's next? And so she's wanting to start something and I'm wanting to start something, and we're both like, you should go for it, man. It's going to be great, and I believe in you, and any way I can help you, like let's do it. So yeah, man, really wanting to ramp things up, and that makes it sound a bit hypey, but like just be intentional and execute and hold each other accountable. I think And yeah, as I say, we're fortunate enough to communicate well enough to be aligned on things, which is beautiful. And also, you know, I know Quincy spoke about it as well, like our faith plays a big part in that, because I think it, for us, at least personally, like it helped that operates as like, I guess, would you say a North Star? That sounds a bit buzzwordy, isn't it? But like, I guess it's a commonality in it, and we in our relationship both
Yes.
have God in our relationship, and so it's like that is, even if we disagree, which is rare, but say we don't have, say we're like, cool, not too sure, but we can both agree to trust God in our faith, and so it's like, well, that's not to say we're not going to try, but it's like that helps us, because I think sometimes if there can be a misalignment, then suddenly you can, all it takes is like 1 degree to be off parallel, and you go like a mile down the road and you're like, so yeah.
I think that was before you even getting onto the faith question. I was about to say, is yours and your wife's alignment and the trust and the level of partnership has enabled you and enhanced you to get to the position where you are today, because there is so much alignment that it takes that. There's certain things that she might be able to take off your plate that allows you more brain space to do something, and then again you can take things off her plate that then allows her to excel in another direction. And because you've got that perfect alignment, rather than being like the power of 2 people, you're almost like the power of 2.5 people or 3 people, because you've not got that extra stress potentially that you've got to, you know, pause, you know, take 15 minutes thinking about it. You can sometimes get back and be like, well, that's been sorted with, great, right, now I've got energy to go sort this thing over here. We've both got like loads of capacity now, because there's 2 persons sorting a household. You can now just be like, right, back on with work. So do you think that alignment, and with also the alignment of faith, that has been a huge factor to where you are today, or a big part to play, at least anyway? So alignment is definitely a key thing. So when it comes to faith, then what does religion mean for you, and what are the religious circles that I guess you're in? I know when Quincy spoke about, I think, the churches that he went to in the beginning, I think he said there was a lot of an African and Jamaican demographic in them churches. But like, what is religion for you, man? And what is church to you? What is religion to you? I'd love to know that. And again, I prefaced it to Quincy. I'm agnostic now. Like, I am not set to any faith. I am super curious about learning about them. I've listened to certain people on different YouTubes and podcasts and stuff like that. And I just think there is obviously so many great teachings from many of they're just tried and tested over thousands of years. Like, it's just, sometimes half the time they sound so simple, but sometimes you just need to be told them again. It's so weird. But yeah, it's just, I'd love to learn about this whilst I've got someone on that I can dig into it. So yeah, what does religion mean to you, Harrison?
Good question. I'm trying to think. Well, how would I answer that? I guess for me, similar to Quincy, like, I've grown up in a Christian household. It's just my mum and dad and I, and so I've always been privileged enough to have a tight-knit relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
And they've always brought me up in church. I probably was like the one that they met in and then they brought me up in. Like, when I was younger, it didn't really mean much to me, to be frank, because you're a kid.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, you just want to be stimulated and have fun. And so, like, we would like there used to be like sort of like printouts, and it would be like a coloring sheet of some kind of like Bible story, and we were like, meh, whatever. So we made like paper planes and like raced our paper planes. And so it's just like, yeah, like this is fun, sweet. Like, I don't mind coming to church because I've got friends here and we can, you know, have some fun, and there's like biscuits afterwards. Like, it's cool. And then when I got a bit older, we moved church and went somewhere that was probably felt to me more relevant. And that was like, you know, it had like a live band and stuff, and it was like a full band, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I've never been to a concert before because I'm young, but this feels quite cool, and I like music, and like people were dynamic and engaging, and I was like, this feels kind of relevant. And then started with that, like going along to the youth group, and I'm sort of with my peers, and it's like outside of school, and I'm making friends and stuff, and I was like, this is cool, and this community and belonging, and gives me like a space to be myself and have some fun. But it's a safe space as well. And I think it's kind of that, like, it's, you know, for me, church now, like all these years later, like having, you know, all to say, like, I've never had this one defining moment where I've been like, oh, do you know what, like I was 18 and something madness happened, and then a few years later, then I went to church and I was like, oh, this is like enlightening. Like for me, it's always been a constant in my life, like my faith. And it's sort of like I never really feel like I need, like, it's one of them ones where you feel like I was always a good kid in it, like always good, always academic, always self-sufficient, and you're like, what do I like need? Why would I need religion? Because it's like, what do I need aiding from? Like I've kind of got this. But I think, yeah, man, you sort of take a step back, and I'm like, oh, like, what is that? It's a purpose thing, it's a relationship thing, and just seeing the reality of my faith to my parents and what that looked like in their lives, and the way that they lived their lives and conducted themselves, I always like admired that. And hearing stories, seeing sort of things happen, and then for me, like, just really being in certain environments, and really, I know it's, you know, it might sound completely foreign, but like feeling what I discern as like the presence of God, like oh, this is crazy. And it's not like, you know, sometimes you see mad videos of people doing like Hadouken Star Wars-ish moves and people flying about, and I'm like, that's weird for me. But yeah, just feeling like I can't like explain it, like this is real to me. And then doing life with other people who feel the same and have experienced a similar thing. Yeah, like faith is community. It's challenging each other to be better. It's having a common purpose, and really going on that journey, a journey every day. Like, as you say, like I ain't got it all figured out, but trying to live with a greater purpose, and understanding what the Bible means to me, and understanding how I can play a part, and having such tangible things that are undeniable in my life as to how God exists. Like I'm quite an indecisive person, from basic stuff like ordering on a menu to like bigger stuff. And so sometimes I've been like, God, if this is really you, and all of those things, like I need a massive sign. And sometimes it's like, nah, like you don't, like you you've seen enough. You need to relax, and you need to exercise some faith and some trust, which is kind of, I guess, segueing into the 30s thing and the next steps thing. But yeah, it's people, man. It's all about people. And like, you know, you read the Bible and it's hard. Like reading the Bible's hard, especially depending on what version. You know, it's obviously translated from multiple tongues gone by, and there are various sort of like translations of it that are like palatable to varying levels, some considerably less so. And if you've got one of those ones and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like trying to, like, I'm banging my head against a brick wall, this is like English literature that I didn't want to do, and people are telling me this is good for me, but I think for me, like, it comes alive when you like have a translation that makes sense, and it's like modern day vernacular, but then secondly, when you place yourself in the context of it, and like really have an understanding of what it meant for the people at the time. Obviously, it's so many years ago. Like there's so many differences, but what does it look like when you sort of like bring it forward, and what would it have looked like then? And then you're like, oh wow, this is actually super profound, and I can actually apply it now. And oh, this is so often I've been complacent and guilty of thinking, oh, these are like nice stories that have happened in the past, but you're like, oh no, like this is real life. What if it happened today? And you can, it just has become reality to me over the course of my life, and it's just wouldn't.
I think there's different ways of, when as an outsider to religion, there's different ways that people see or try to shoehorn people into when they believe religion. There's like
Mm,
There's like you said a word in there. It gives me some form of purpose, at least in a
mm,
way. It's not your only purpose, but also gives you this kind of extra thing to align yourself in life. Sorry, and
mm,
certain things to live by in terms of maybe not rules, but guidance and etc. And I
mm.
think there's always this contention with non-believers as like, God, is God actually real? Was Jesus actually real? Or a lot of these things in the
Sure.
book actually real? But I think there's also an element of the stuff that the religion says and the meanings behind it and the purposes of some of the stories as well. Whether you believe in an actual real God or not, or how God presents themselves to you, like you kind of said, like how God shows up in my life. I think one of the quotes that I saw about God, someone had asked someone, people will say, why does God not just show himself to me? Why does he not just speak to me? Like this, kind of like the non-believers are like, why don't you just
Was.
speak in my ear then? If he's real, why don't you say anything?
Yeah, valid.
Why does he not reveal himself to make it easier to believe in him, basically?
Mm,
And the person rebutted with, it's because you have something to do. Like, life's not a game.
mm,
The price of life is death, and there's evil in the world, whether you want to see it as like satanic or demons or whatever, but there's a bad way to live life, and to live in God's image is to be a responsible moral agent. And I think that's the bit that resonated with me, is the Bible and religious teachings teach you to be a responsible moral agent, whether you super believe like everything in terms of the miracles and the truth or the fact of the word in terms of like a God and Eve, etc. But baseline, what it does is it teaches you a good way to live life that will be responsible and moral, and that is wrestling with potential in a way, good potential. And God, whoever he, they, she might be, doesn't just want cute pets, cute, harmless, comfortable pets. It is people that have potential and they live to it and they wrestle with it every day, moral quandaries, all life decisions, sacrifices, all this kind of stuff. That's what I understand as an outsider to what religion is it aligns a community of people in a direction that is hopefully bringing good into the world and combats bad/evil.
That's cool. That's some good thoughts, man. I like that. I think for me, I would probably also say like I personally hate the word religion, and that's by no means like a slight on you using it.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been a reality of like me. I believe I have a personal relationship with God, and that is relationship versus religion. I say religion feels like rituals and feels like we're gonna do this set of sort of rules, and it's gonna be in this regulatory way, and then I'm gonna earn. It's like a meritocracy type thing, or let me not put a toe out of line because I should. This is kind of like the little package with a bow that I ought to be. Whereas relationship, I feel like is the same as a human relationship where we all get stuff wrong, and it's like the Bible talks about grace, and grace being like something that we haven't earned, and it's like there's a reason that God is God and we are not, because he gives us this level of this grace that enables us and empowers us to be sort of like right with him, and allow us to be like, you know what, yes, we mess up like continuously, but we're going to have a heart posture that says, I kind of want to do better, would you help me? And so I guess it's a bit of that. What else had I thought of just then? Think purpose is a good one. Like, I'll say this as well, like I feel like often people not misquote, but probably have a misconception around the Bible as like a rule book, because in the Old Testament it's super heavy on rules, because people lived with this law that was sort of man-made because they didn't really have anything else to go by, and so they made up these arbitrary sort of things that were like quite high standards to live up to, but conversely, I feel like my understanding of the Bible in the New Testament sense, i.e., post Jesus coming and changing people's perception of stuff, is like actually it's like God's, and this may sound a bit cringe, but hear me out. Good, like God's love letter to humanity, and understanding the way in which we can sort of find our way back from all the ways in which we continuously mess up. And in that, it kind of comes back to, you know, obviously we spoke about it like a marriage, and it's like, well, if someone is demonstrating goodness to you and love that is unconditional, and love that says, yes, you screwed up, yes, we might have had miscommunication, yes, you may have broken my trust, but I can still love you, then why would I, as someone who loves that person, or in this instance loves God, not want to adjust and be better and strive to be the best version of myself to A, make him proud, but secondly, live a life of purpose that is helping to show that to other people, and saying, you know, we can collectively do better, but not only do better, but like, bro, you have talents and dreams and passions, and they're not there they're not there by chance. Like if, and this is kind of like Quincy and I have spoken about this before, and I'm like, bro, I feel like God is so creative in it. Like the first instance that you sort of read of him in the Bible is in Genesis, where it talks about him creating the world, and nowadays everyone is a creator. And it's like, now God was the first creator, and so therefore if he's put creativity on your heart and as a passion of yours, then it's not there by mistake. So who am I to, like, I'm almost doing myself a disservice if I'm not stepping into using the skills that I feel like I've been given, because sometimes in today's day and age, it can definitely feel like, because I felt it, like, oh, if I wanted to take a step and be more like Quincy and DJ properly, is that me being selfish because now I have to be a performer? Or is that me stepping into a passion that I feel like comes from a creative gift that is given to me but by God, by the virtue of the fact that I am here? And so it's kind of that balance, but all coming back to trying to just be purposeful and add some value to the world, add some value to people, and, you know, you just unite people. I feel like the world's so divided, and it's like, you only have to open the BBC News app because you see that tragedy sells, and people want to publish negativity. It's like, well, what can we be doing to make the world a better place? And so often it's like one person at a time, just spreading some sort of positivity or encouragement, or something that's worth clicking on, that someone's going to bring joy to someone, whether it be when they're reading a book at night, whether it be when they're in the gym, whether it be when they've got their AirPods in, like just trying to add value, man.
I completely, like, and this is not making, I'm not trying to even like make a mockery of things, but I've always had a fascination for angels. Like, I don't know what it is, like any video games, any stories, anything like that. I don't know why I have such a high affinity for like angelic, good characters, holy characters, like World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons. I played like a paladin, which again is a lot about faith-based characters. So I've always had a huge curiosity for it. I don't know why. I don't know if you know of Diablo, the game. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Say again?
Diablo.
No, I've not heard of it.
It's like a game of basically a battle between heaven and hell, basically, I think.
Interesting.
But the characters in that, again, like some people will resonate with the demon hunters or the whatever and all these other characters and warlocks. I've always been like the good character. I've always found that kind of, I don't know what it is. Is it the wings? Is it the helping people? I just don't know what it is. I've had an affinity to that. I don't actually know much about angels in a true religious sense. In a way, it would be nice to know if angels were real. And sometimes I've seen so many clips where things happen, and I'm like, how has that happened? I remember watching one thing the other day, and there was a guy it's completely random. A guy was in a NASCAR, and he came off, and he was in the car. If I find the clip, I'll try and put it up. And it sets on fire. The NASCAR does, and he's in it. And whilst he's in it, he's trying to get out of the car, obviously quite frantic. Take the seatbelt, and you can literally see it in the thing. It's like he gets pulled out of the car, like by
Mad.
something or someone, his shoulders go out.
I had my PR man by the collar, screaming at him to find the guy that pulled me out of the car. He was like, "Nobody helped you get out," and I was like, "That's strange, because I swear somebody had me underneath my arms and was carrying me out of the car. I mean, I swear to God."
And that was your dad.
I don't know. You tell me.
That it's not like he's pushed himself out or whatever. And I just sat there and I thought, that's one of them kind of things where it looks like something supernatural or whatever has decided this person cannot go right now. There is something more meant for them. And in the context of what, NASCAR, like, it's not like you're saying, oh, this person's going to save the world, but like, I don't know what it is about angels, man. It's something that really fascinates me, and I'm just drawn to them for some reason. Do you, in your context of religion, do you believe in angels? I don't know what is in the New Testament compared to Old Testament, what the angels do, etc. I don't know if it's something that you are bothered about, really, in a religious context.
It's an interesting point. I feel you on the always being drawn to the good over evil type thing. I feel like if I was ever playing a video game and you're like picking a character, some people are like, I'm going to go for the baddest guy with all the fire and the anger. I've always been like, oh, that guy looks positive and they look they look good. So I feel you on that. It's crazy, and I've got a mad story about that as well, on that, similar to the NASCAR thing as well. Which is nuts. What do I think about it? Not something I think about too much, I feel like Bible speaks about it. There's quite a lot of imagery about it, especially in stuff like Revelation, which is quite a scary book just with the imagery. Obviously, it's a bit end timesy, which it can be quite daunting, and probably doesn't bear to spend too much time on. Obviously, it's part of the Bible and it's important and stuff, but sometimes it sort of all makes sense if you want it to, but at the same time, at face value, is like quite daunting and quite taken aback and quite like metaphorical. So it's like, what on earth? I feel like angels can come in different forms. Like, I feel like when people say, "Oh, you're my guardian angel," it's that can all sound a bit cringe sometimes. But I think sometimes, as I say, like, I'm someone who believes they have a relationship with God. Like, it was only the other day someone was telling me that they really wanted to. They were making a film. They're like filmmaker, creative, and they wanted to make this film. They wanted to move up to Scotland to spend some time to shoot there, but they didn't really have. They didn't have the finance for it, and so there was X amount of money that they needed in order to be able to like hit the rental income to spend X amount of months up in Scotland. And they were at church and they've been sort of praying about it, not like praying for the money, but praying for like, oh, this is a passion of ours, we'd love to do it, but equally we don't want to make like a dumb financial rule and then be like, God, you've got to help us. It's like, and you've got to be like, if I was God, I'd be like, you can't put yourself in this situation, guys. Like, I'm not a get out of jail free genie that you can just rub when you're in dire straits. And like, it's an unlimited monopoly bank. Anyway, then it transpires that they were at church a couple of weeks later or whatever, and someone came up to them and was like, I just feel like God's told me to give you this money. And it was like bang on that amount that they needed to cover the rental for that X amount of time in Scotland. And she was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, what? And she was like, I couldn't possibly take that from you because it's a lot of money. And the person was like, and the person said in response, she was like, are you really going to deny me being obedient to what I feel like God has told me to do? And they were like, oh,
works in mysterious ways.
How interesting. And so it ended up taking the money, they went up and shot the film and stuff, which is incredible. And obviously, I think sometimes angels are like, we see them as like, oh, angel is like your safety and your protection. But I feel like also, they kind of, I see it as probably embodying a bit of God, and they might not have wings. They might just be, I feel like someone, you can be like the answer to a problem by having a relationship with God and hearing from him, and then, you know, being the physical outworking of that here.
Yeah.
Like, and so that was a cool example. Yeah, I don't really think that, you know, hey, they might exist and it be like a ghost form of invisible forces, but I feel like my understanding of God is like he doesn't want to be weird and ooky spooky and like Harry Potter, as much as I love Harry Potter. Like, I feel like he wants to be relatable and tangible, and for us to see him in the everyday, and for people who might be a bit skeptical, as all of us are, let's not forget, that it's like, nah, like this can make sense to you, and I'm not sort of like too ethereal and too foreign of a concept for you to get your head around. Like, I can just be like this everyday man type thing.
Yeah. So you've got your perception of what religion means to you, what God means to you, how he shows himself to you. I pose this question to Quincy. In this new and developing world, AI, you spoke earlier about how religion has gone through different texts, different spoken memories of stories and translations, etc. But you've got your version and your understanding of religion, and it might not be the same as anyone else's. Everyone perceives it in a different way.
Sure.
AI, I heard a scary concept the other day of like AI not creating its own religions, but enabling people to personalize religion in a way. Like, for example, I've heard some people LLMs are just texts. You can put text into it and feed it however you want.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like somehow getting one text from one religion, either combining or comparing, contrasting them, and doing all this weird kind of
scary,
hocus pocus stuff with it. Because at the end of the day, it's in the tangible form, it is text that you've got and spoken word that kind of, in my mind, outline what the religion is. Then there's practice of the religion, there's the physical doing of it, however you want to, whether it's helping others, whether it's charity, whether it's just being there for another person, etc. Being your authentic self, praying, blah, 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 all these different things. So there's like a physical part to religion as well. And spiritual, again. But the text part, they're talking about how people can now make it how they want it to be, in a sense. And you could have God in a phone, in a way, or God in an app. And I thought that was a weird, scary concept, in a way. Like, you could have priest in an app, like, or your pastor in an app, etc. Rather than having to go to church, you can bring church to you, in a way. And I thought that was a weird and a very peculiar concept. And I thought, does that defeat the point? If AI becomes that, does that defeat the point of what? Because you said, like, it's community, isn't it? A big part of it is community. It's bringing people together. You're 100%. All somewhat aligned in it. You know, everyone might have some degrees in different ways, but you've got a big amount of alignment. If we get into this world where you can just start curating your own personal fancy on religion, like, where does that take us? Does that divide us more? It's all good.
Sorry, I was just trying to write some notes on different points. Bro, it's scary. That's scary stuff. I feel like, people are getting, people are taking AI too far.
A little bit too far.
Yeah, I think it's, it's great, but at the end of the day, I think sometimes we do forget the A in it. Like, it's artificial, and I feel like intelligence isn't something that's artificial. So that, to me, feels like a juxtaposition. I think there are many ways that it helps with efficiencies and helps with like that sort of like efficiencies, framework, structure, all of the sort of stuff that can help people on a practical level, and for like making their lives a bit more sort of an engine and a workflow, especially like where more and more people you're seeing getting diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, and it's like, I don't know why I can't focus, or I don't know this, and it's like, okay, we can put things together that allow us to operate in the best way to understand our brains and to function. Like if you're saying like, I've never done this, but tell ChatGPT I have ADHD, but I want you to make this concise for me such that I take away the key points and I'm able to regurgitate it with key learnings or something like that. That is like an efficiency thing. But I do think that we are as humans inherently selfish, and so we're always going to look for things that are new or innovative or whatever to serve us. And I think that's where it possibly becomes a bit dangerous, because we're trying to bleed everything dry. Like, what can we get from it, rather than sort of like actually taking the time. Sometimes we just want to shortcut everything. When it comes to church, like church is people, I think. And I think, you know, I don't see harm in like things being digitized to a point. I think during lockdown, you know, and this is making me sound like an old person, but there is beauty in the fact that technology enabled us to do like church from home or anything from home, like even the house party app where people will come together and like just link up and chat and chill and have forums online. Like that stuff I think is sick, because it brought people together in the absence of being able to be physically present. And so, yeah, man, I think, as I say, church is people, and people isn't a building. So, you know, I think like so often it's like, you know, you do that hand thing where it's like, here's the church, here's the steeple. Yeah. You know, that sort of little rhyme thing. It's like, the church, is a building. People will refer to it or look at that church, but like in a sense of like, for me, Christianity, church is people. And we talk about the church, it's sort of like, these are the people. The church is a gathering of people who have the same belief. And so I feel like technology is sick in as much as it meets people where they are at. Me personally, if I was to go to a church for the first time, not being someone in faith, at this age in my life, I'd find that super daunting, man. Like, even going, it's like joining a run club or doing something for the first time. It's like I'd have to like muster up the courage and be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do this. You walk in and you're like, I'll probably just get my phone out and pretend like I'm preoccupied. So if someone's first experience of, you know, a new church is like, they have an online service, I'm gonna watch that. Or this person has written something that I can access via an app, I think that's great, because I think it's like provides accessibility.
Yeah. So do you think it could have a positive sense in terms of it provides access, a low friction form of accessibility to religion and experimental religion? I keep seeing stats, I don't know the exact stats, but I keep seeing stats that apparently religion is on the rise in young people at the moment. It's kind of doing this kind of V-shaped
I see
recovery.
that too. I don't know. I'm intrigued to know. Well, I need to really see what that study is, because I don't actually know. I don't know if it's like a census thing, but I've seen that too.
Is it? What do you think it is? Because maybe there is younger people that are seeing like, well, what is the future with AI? Like, where is our purpose in a way? Like, what is going to gel us all together anymore? Like, you know, institutions like work and being together and having your work friends and bosses and colleagues, etc., was a sense of community. If you don't need to work anymore, where does that come from other than like family, friends, etc.? So something to gel us together and give again a sense of purpose in a way. Like some people find purpose in work, find passion and purpose in work. Again, if you've got this position where you're like, well, I don't have any prospects now. I wanted to be an advert writer or something like that. Well, everyone's using ChatGPT to do that now, to do like first drafts and even final drafts, etc. So like, it could be a reason, I guess, why people are doing that, because they get this overwhelming sense of like, well, what is the thing that's going to keep me as a North Star? I think the North Star it's something that you it's a light in the sky that you work towards, hopefully. You'll never really fully truly achieve it, but it's something to keep. I think, do you think religion, you've got to keep it just slightly out of touch, slightly out of distance? It's something you can't say, I've understood it, or I've got it, or I know it now. You can't really do that with religion, is it? It's a constant process, a constant practice.
Yeah, I think so. I think part of, I don't think at any point, like, I don't want to, but like you can never say that you've made it, because I feel like if I've made it, then how is there a separation between me and God?
Yeah.
Like I can't be like someone who's like feels a bit sort of self-worshipy, like I've completed what it is to be a human. Like it's just never going to be like that. And the Bible even says like God is a mystery, which you're like, oh, that actually sounds so unhelpful. But I think at the same time it's like, oh, there's an element of that that's somewhat reassuring, because it means that no matter how academic I am, I can never fully understand, which I think is humbling in a way that I need. And I think a lot of people kind of need it as well, just in the sense of like, we always strive to know and I always want to understand. But I think that's where, religion, I'll interchange that for faith, and faith is like, the Bible defines it as like the substance of things hoped for, and the belief in things that are yet to be seen. And that is so much of our lives. Like, and I believe that's different to like manifestation, because manifestation just is like mustering and feels like speaking things into existence. But I think it's based on what, like, and that's not to, I like the premise of people being aspirational, but I think for me, I put that and my strength and my hope in God, because I know that I can't do stuff on my own. And I think for younger people, as per the sort of study that you're referring to, I feel like COVID may have played a part in that. And I feel like like social media and the fact that everything's so instant could play a part in that. There's a sort of buzzy phrase that's like, this is the most social media has ever been used, blah blah blah, but we're the most disconnected. We're like the most connected but the most disconnected. And I think some of it's probably people coming to the realization, feeling disillusioned by the fact that we can speak with people all over the world and have these online relationships or online personas, but it's like, authentically, when it's all stripped back, what does it mean? Or you've got millions of followers, and you're making shed loads of money, but when you strip it back, someone's at home with depression. So what does that really mean? And so I think a lot of people are like, hopefully, and for whatever, for however they find a resolution here, it's like, oh, well, there's got to be more, and finding that sense of what is the more and what is also purpose, because there's always going to be an amount of money's going to be insatiable, and there's always going to be a point where you're like, what next? And so hopefully it's that sort of thing. But I think it's reassuring that younger people are, looking to other sources of, like, looking to draw on other sources of strength, essentially. Because I think in the quote unquote information age, it can be so easy for people to think they're self-sufficient, and that we've got it all under control, such that it's under control, that AI can handle it, and that we're now going to be the master of that, and that's going to do our job for us. But as you said, like, there's danger in that as well. And so hopefully there's a sense of humility that's coming with people turning to other things as well.
So I'll go on to the kind of final points and final question, really. So religion might be being taken up in a way because, again, AI, we all are aware it's going to take a lot of bloody jobs. It's going to be pretty devastating, I think. How do you anticipate AI affecting your industry? In the music industry, for example, I think it's a bit of a kind of a hot topic right now. People have seen this 50 Cent version of Many Men being done in a 50s style, and it's completely AI. And it is, and honestly, it's mental. Like I put it on and it's a jam. It's a pretty good song, to be fair. There's one of Eminem, and it is now mind-blowing. And another reason why I always like to talk about AI is I think we're going to look back at some things like this, what we were saying, and it's going to have just gone in the blink of an eye how quick these advancements are going to be.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were like, nah, it's not going to be able to make photos, or it's not going to be able to make videos, or it's not going to be able to make a film. It's not going to be able to make a song. It's not going to be able to have soul. It's not going to be able to have a good voice. And I listened to the 50 Cent song. I was like, bloody hell, that's bloody good, right?
Many men wish death upon me. Blood in my eye, dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be, and bombs trying to take my life away.
Crazy.
So what impact I think in terms, and you're in streaming, and
Mm.
I've said before, like, you can't replace the in person. Like, you're not going to get a robot on. Well, we might know. Who knows? I'm not going to be stupid and say that we'll never have a robot singing on stage and we'll all love it, because we probably will. But having a real person sing at a concert and all that kind of stuff, fantastic. AI, when it comes to streaming, do you think there's going to be a point where there's going to be a billboard that's going to have an AI at the top of the streaming charts or something like that? How do you think it's going to affect your industry?
Crazy, eh? 50 Cent thing's mad. My TikTok, some of the stuff on there is jokes, bro. Crazy.
Have you heard that specific one, the Many Men one, the 50th rendition?
I've seen that it exists, but I've not watched it. Is it worth checking out?
It's honestly quite crazy. It's honestly, because it's not 50 Cent's voice. It is more just like a soul singer's voice, and this 50s, 60s jazzy kind of style. But it is pretty just like, wow. Like, I didn't think we were going to get to this point already in terms of with...
Right, yeah, it's quick, eh?
It's quick, yeah. But there's clearly going to be a point where we still need... There's going to be human music.
Of course.
But there's going to be a world... I think there's going to be a world where it's going to be both, isn't there?
I think so. I think it's similar to the point on when we're talking about faith as well. It's like people want stuff, people want tangibles, and people want substance. And I think there's nothing that can replace connection and connectivity.
Yeah.
It's already happening in the industry. Like, there was, I don't know if you saw the other day, in September, this is crazy, bro. There's a singer called Zania Monet. She's AI. She was signed for $3 million, which is like, it just doesn't. It's unfathomable. It doesn't make sense.
Who signs? Who's that? Who are the rights to for that?
I dread to think what the contract looks like, and I dread to think who signs it, or how that process works, or how you negotiate that. It must be a lawyer as hell.
Yeah.
But Google it. Like, she's got an AI Instagram and she sings and everything. Like, it's nuts.
What was the name again?
Zania Monet, Xania Monet.
Right, I'm going to look that up later because that sounds crazy.
Check it and prepare to be confused, but semi-impressed at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's already impacting. It's already happening. I think. Yeah, and I'm hoping it's going to sort of like swell and then sort of die out because people realize it's kind of a bit fickle. Yeah, in music. So the way that most payouts happen is like but via like market share, and so it's like pie chart stuff. So a piece of pie, and then depending on how big your company is, you get X slice of the pie, and then depending on the amount of artists within that slice, that gets divvied up accordingly, type thing. And so recently there's been a thing of like a shed load of AI just being lumped onto streaming services, because it's obviously like quick, cheap, free, and as I say, it's market share based. So if you as a company, or if you as Kyle decided, you know what, I want to dabble in this, you could just whack all the stuff together under your own independent label, chuck it out, and obviously there's ways in which you can strategize and optimize and stuff. But if you get to the point where you're just randomly churning stuff out, and you could be a piece of the pie and you can get paid from it. So what's doing is basically fraudulent money generation, essentially, because streams are happening, but people A, might not realize that they're streaming AI, or B, things such as streaming farms do exist, right, whereby people will buy an absolute ton of phones, chuck them in a warehouse, program them such that they're just playing stuff on loop. Which is scary, and it's nuts, and it's sad. So
it just dilutes the market massively, really.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, I think it's been a significant problem, because you've now got companies having to pay out royalties to essentially IP that doesn't really exist, because that's such a blurry line. And so that is where it has an impact, because it's different if there's sort of like, if it's not piece of pie, if it's like you get 10 streams, you get £10, say, but because it's based on share, then it's like, because of this encroachment into the pie, or this new thing that's been added in, people that are actually artists are getting paid less because of this. So they're actually taking away from people who are pouring their heart into actual music and
Yeah.
putting like hours and days and weeks into creating, and so that's where it gets a bit ugly. I don't think it's ever going to replace like the experience, the in-person experience, like the euphoria of seeing someone live, or the sort of buzz of being in the queue for a ticket and then securing it and getting one for your mate and then going and queuing and so the artist locking eyes with you or that sort of thing. Say again. Yeah, right.
Seeing Kano, yeah.
But I do think there's kind of a demand for it, but I don't know if I think it's a bit buzzy. Like during there were like, I remember Travis Scott did like a virtual Fortnite performance during like lockdown and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of like, I like Travis Scott. I've seen him multiple times. I would never tune into that. What am I doing? I just don't understand.
It was a gimmick. Yeah, it was a big gimmick.
Yeah, so I can't get my head around that stuff, and I hope that it's sort of comes and goes. And fair play to anyone who takes a punt on it, because it can be lucrative, assuming it's based in some sort of credibility. But the sort of fraudulent side of it, and that is just, just make an honest living. It just feels a bit sad, and maybe I'm a bit snobby, and people were just like opportunists. But yeah, it's a bit sad.
I think I'm just gonna basically analogize it to fast fashion. Like we all don't maybe morally like it because we know what's behind it, but we all kind of just use it anyway. But we all would rather have the more expensive, nice, genuine, morally made cotton t-shirt or something like that, rather than some fashion sheen piece of cheap latex, etc. So they both have a place in the world, and I think the AI is becoming the fashion of every industry, almost, of music, of photography, of a lot of creative generation, and it kind of sucks. But obviously there will still be a high value and a high price put on genuine stuff. Is there just kind of very lastly, is there much, is it a thing that's talked around tables in your industry? Is it stuff that artists talk about or worry about or not bothered about? People in boardrooms, again, not talking about specific examples, but like, is it something that is now a growing commonplace discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been for the last couple of years.
Really?
Yeah. I've been in many a forum about it, to be fair, or at least had advice on it one way or another. I think there's a hesitancy around it for sure, and always has been. And then there's things that are there are sort of directives around the use of it. Different companies that I've worked at have had different scopes within which they can work with it, and ones that are company approved and ones that we should absolutely not be using. And yeah, I think so often, like, take my industry as an example. You can press releases is a thing within music. It's within many things, but it's like there's a new song coming out, a new video coming out, a new album, or the announce of an album, or the announce of a tour, or any which thing that you want to announce. And obviously ChatGPT is great with language, and so a fast track solution is like, hey, ChatGPT, write a press release for X artist new album X, which is being announced on this date, has these features on, and it's going to be called this. And straight, what if, obviously it does machine learning, and so you put that in, it'll probably spit you out something that's great, and you're like, brilliant, this has just saved me like 2 hours and proofreading and approvals and all of this. But then it's taken that on board, and you're like, oh, you fed it some information, kind of like Wikipedia, and it's like, is this a source of truth? Because anyone can contribute. And then what if you then go in and you make a query about the artist that I've just inputted, and you're like, oh, summarize this artist or tell me what they're up to now. And then they're like, oh, actually, and then they regurgitate the information that I gave you. So suddenly we've just broken confidence, and the whole world has the possibility to know something that's completely confidential. So it's obviously treated with caution when it comes to the sort of business side of it. I'm not on the sort of music maker and A&R side so much, so I'm not sure quite how it's used there, but I know a lot of artists are very averse to it. Anyone that sort of, everyone loves their craft and puts their 10,000 hours in and has various skill sets. And I think, as I say, there's things that it can be useful for. It might be useful for sort of just giving you a stimulus. If you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, when you're writing an email or writing something, oh, I want to say this, but I don't quite know. Give me synonyms for this, and you just Google it.
Yeah.
I can imagine it might be good for that, just giving quick prompts and that sort of like brain starter stuff if you're feeling a bit sleepy. So yeah, it's definitely a big thing, but there's also ways in which, you know, the industry works with it as well. There's some really useful things, as I say, that helps with efficiencies, that can help with just I think the good thing about efficiencies, especially in my job's not massively creative, by the way, but like where people's jobs are creative, often I feel like people's brains are not usually wired one way or another, one more administratively and organized, or one more creative. And I feel like where a lot of people who are creatives in the industry job, they might get their thought, you know, I've been being really artsy, and then you get into it and you do like a marketing job and you think, I'm going to do this creative marketing, I've got these great ideas, and then you sit down on day one and you realize that 80% of your job is sending emails, and you're like, damn, how have we landed here? And so for people whose brains are a bit more creative, like I can see ChatGPT being brilliant to sort of like expedite the admin side of their role, so that they can be more as creatively free as they actually want to be, and to alleviate the pressure of that. So it can be great when it comes to doing the sort of legwork, I guess. But then you can't replicate the Midas touch of an idea or that sort of thing.
It's a completely alien thing, isn't it? We're all, the whole world's going through this process right now of understanding of how to use it responsibly, what impacts it's going to have. We don't know how to do certain policies for it, so it's going to be an ever evolving world, isn't it? And I think we all hope that there's going to be an element where the humanity and human-made things are still going to be high in our value hierarchy, etc. That there's probably going to be this kind of moment where, I like the word, we're a bit fickle, and I think we will just get to this point where we're like, I think when there's so much of one kind of thing, like if I heard now you could make 50 million versions of the 50 Cent 50s version, and at some point you're gonna go, that's boring, like same thing now, like it's nothing new, and it can't do, so far it can't do new and creative. So yeah, hopefully it's just that we will find a world in which it might wake us up to the fact that actually we didn't need the AI versions. Humans had it right all along. The little flaws that we all have actually make something more interesting than just pristine and perfect kind of thing, isn't it? So
I think so. I think that's an interesting analogy. I was thinking while you were speaking about like just the fakes market, and I think, you know, there's so much. You think of like people that do like fake Louis or fake Gucci, and it's like you can rock it and it looks authentic, but you in your heart, and you know you spent £5 on it, and if people ask you, it's a dupe in it. Whereas there's something nice about the value, and there's something nice, even I think, you know, a Gen Z thing is like very vintage stuff nowadays, and it's like I think people are clocking and appreciating the value of things, and the value of this is authentic, it's lived the life, and now I'm bringing it on, and this is something to be respected. And I think, you know, that is an interesting analogy. I think kind of relates to AI touch as well. How come you're so interested in it out of interest?
I kind of want to, I don't want to say educate, because I'm in no position to educate, but I think I'm super interested in AI. And I think there's a lot of people that are they're just being ignorant to it. And I don't think we actually understand or anticipate how big of an impact it's going to have.
Yeah, so true.
Even like the Sora 2, if you've seen that, the video generation from OpenAI, from ChatGPT team, Sora 2, they've got the video creation that they've got from version 1 to version 2 is mental. You can now do body cam footage. You know, there's one, I've seen a body cam footage where a policeman's chasing a Chucky doll, but it looks real, and it's completely all fake. There's all the memes at the moment of Jake Paul, you know, dressing up and doing makeup tutorials and all this kind of stuff. I think it's recently been said that he actually gave his likeness to OpenAI to train its data on his likeness. So it's all been a marketing stunt that has.
Okay.
But the capability is just, it's gone from this to this already in the space of 2
Yeah, it's
years.
exponential,
And
isn't
then if it goes from that to that to that, and it just, yeah, I have that interest because one, I kind of want to, there'll be tons of other creators anyway cataloging this, but I want to catalog how things change. I'm on season 1 right now, and we're talking about it in the ways that we're talking about it. Who knows what we're going to be talking about it in seasons to come?
Literally.
And I guarantee we'll just be like, oh, yeah, that's what it does now. And we'll just get so accustomed to it. And
That's the
we
thing,
can look
desensitized,
back.
isn't it?
Yeah, we can look back. It's like cars now. We take them so much for granted. And I thought this the other week when I went to climb Ben Nevis with my dad. And I was like, I don't know if it was Romans, whoever, but soldiers that had to just, English soldiers, whatever, Norman soldiers, all this kind of stuff, that had to walk for miles and miles and miles carrying armor and all sorts just to go fight, and they might die within the first 10 seconds of the battle. And now we can just drive there and just like
Literally.
so many things that we just take for granted. And I think AI is going to be that thing that just people just aren't anticipating how much it's going to impact our lives. And I think people are like, a lot of people are still thinking, yeah, in 10 years it'll be fine. I don't have to think about it. I'll be good by then. I'll be living on a pension or whatever.
Right.
I think it's coming way sooner. So I kind of just want to document it. 2, I'm going to hopefully get the opportunity to speak to so many different people in different industries. And it's just, it's interesting for my personal to learn, like, how is it impacting you? What have you learned? What, your interest, and even personal lives. So yeah, that's where it comes from me. And
cool.
Also the premise of this show is connecting with people. And again, my utopia, hopefully, for AI is that if it does take our jobs, something happens where all it does is it provides humans more time spent with each other to get more experiences, better living, more people time, more community. That's what I'm hoping. Like Tesla robots or whatever robots go and do all the boring menial tasks, and we get to go live in a utopia. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't want Terminator level wasteland stuff blowing up. I just want to breed some positive energy into the world, that we get to this lovely Star Trek universe where we're now going across the galaxy, exploring new worlds. That's where I hope AI takes us. That's why I talk about it, and I just want to get it into the public knowledge and domain so that people think about it, and we hopefully as a human race push it in the right direction for progression and not for greed. That's that's why I have an interest in it.
So great answer. I agree. Yeah, it's fine. There's so much time and energy goes into it, and I'm like, let's make sure that it's for the right outcome.
100%. So I think on that bombshell, as some people say, we can probably end the discussion. We've been going on for quite a while, as things always do. We get deep into a discussion. We've covered a lot of interesting stuff. Interested to hear about your career, where you're going, and again, similar, resonate with you that at that point of life where things might be, more place to grow and more place to go, etc. So I'll be interested. We're connected now. We're I've got you on Instagram and stuff and socials. So I'll be following that journey. I'll be watching along. I've said that I'm going to try and get down to see Quincy, because obviously he's close with one of my friends, Thomas. So if we ever cross paths, that would be amazing. Get to meet you in person, Harrison. But I really appreciate you coming along, sharing your story. I'm interested to know who you might, again, don't have to say now, who you might refer on to the next to spread this chain on and the ripple of events. But yeah, thank you for your time this evening to talk to me. And I hope there's plenty of people that resonate with your story as well, and follow along.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for creating the space. As I say, I feel like it's a sick concept of finding how people are connected in different ways and seeing the common thread that goes through anyone from all these sorts of different industries and different walks of life. So thank you. And yeah, I got a few ideas, so I'll let you know who we're going to throw to you next. But yeah, likewise, it's been a pleasure. I'm sure I'll see you around at some point, bro. Thank you for reaching out.
I appreciate it. Right. Thank you, Harrison. I will speak to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching in. And if you've got any questions, put them down in the comment section down below. and I will see you in the next episode of the Sonderverse.